Let's go. Good afternoon, dear folks from the fashion industry. It is with great delight that I am reading the conference chat here. Hello, Izmir. Hello, Israel. Hello, Riyadh. Hello, Estonia, Lithuania, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Georgia. Happy to welcome folks from lots of Russian cities. And yes, indeed, we are broadcasting now from Moscow, and this is Fashion Factory School. Yet another digital fashion conference will look at the issue of acquiring knowledge in the world of digital design so that we can apply it in the profession, or rather in the range of fashion professions. We decided to launch this conference in order to respond to your requests after the first conference on digital fashion we ran. So let's go. The digital fashion industry is developing very fast, and obviously it requires an influx of well-educated young people brimming with energy. Although development of new tools looks like a gold rush already, and there are lots and lots of schools that promise to teach you digital design, their programs, in fact, in many cases at least, are poorly adapted to the needs of the fashion industry in general and digital fashion in particular. Nonetheless, in real time, here and now, we are seeing some very good courses being offered to digital fashion professionals and greenhorns. Some of them are offered on YouTube, others otherwise, but in any case, there are courses and education projects delivered by enthusiasts, professionals from the fashion industry, and very often they are indeed adapted to the needs of fashionable design. Actually, there are already leaders in this industry. They include 3D Couture, with Maria Shevchenko as the founder and Yelena Kazantseva from Kazantool, Pushka with Irina Karaselnikova as the founder, XYZ School. They actually do not specialize in developing fashionable clothes, but rather they focus on game and cartoon characters, which will be wearing some clothes later on. And they are the places and the schools that you've mentioned numerous times. Also, there are some leading digital fashion designers happy to share their knowledge. For example, Ilyas Daraksheev, developer of digital sneakers, as well as Yevgeny Golovanchuk, who develops textures for digital products. Also influencing education in the digital fashion industry is the fact that Claw 3D is in fact underlying most projects, and Julia Brown and Mrs. Kochler stand behind this project in Russia, and their knowledge is of paramount importance in the world of digital fashion design. So our conference is bringing together experts and expert trainers so that they can tell you, the audience consisting of entrepreneurs and young and veteran designers and also founders of new fashion brands, about how you can be very successful and very practical in acquiring this education and networking in this industry, how you can actually make your first steps in this profession, and how you can successfully network. The information space in the digital fashion industry is burgeoning. News are coming and streaming in every day, and it's very important for us to learn how to actually process and put at our fingertips the newfangled knowledge. I'm certain we'll succeed at that. I'm happy to give you our first speaker, Julia Brown. She's a trainer and a coach for Claw, and she's actually a representative of Claw 3D in Russia. She's one of the pioneers of digital design. She's a modeler and a designer, and after she graduated, she worked for several well-known Munich-based brands. And for the last several years, she's been working as as an online trainer, and she initially joined a company called Saper or CAD, and she's teaching both large organizations and freelancers alike. Julia, you're more than welcome. Hello, can you hear me? My apologies, it seems to be working now. So, good afternoon. A pleasure to welcome you all. I'm happy to participate in this conference. Ludmila has already presented me. Indeed, my name is Julia. I'm a freelancing coach and trainer in 3D design. For the last 3 years, I've been teaching people to use Clo 3D, and this has been my exclusive occupation. Let me start by briefly reminding you what Clo 3D is. Now, I guess most of you already know that this software was developed in South Korea in 2009. Besides Clo, the same company produced Marvelous Design, Closet, Benefit by Clo. They have offices in New York, Seoul, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Bangalore, and the latest office opening was 3 years ago in Munich. Benefits of Clo 3D. Well, obviously this is virtual fitting, which saves you a lot of time in terms of checking if your design is harmonious, and it also saves a lot of time in terms of producing a particular product mock-up, and obviously you don't need to spend extra money on raw materials or fittings. In fact, capabilities of Flow are pretty much unlimited. And this is something that I teach in my courses. We do go through all the features of Clo. Let me give you an example. Clo, for example, can help you produce a complete image, and there are no limitations in terms of the number of layers you can have in your model. A particular feature of the program is dealing with multi-component objects. The software shows both the internal and the external layers of the model. It can also show the texture of a particular fabric, be it lace, lace curtain, or knitwork. Everything is possible. It also helps you show jeans with the various levels of tear. And you can actually import the effects as graphic files. And starting from version 6.0, it is actually interfaced or compatible with Genealogia. Naturally, some of our clients are using it for homeware and underwear modeling and design. A growing number of clients are using Clo 3D for accessories. Particularly accessories have lots of details such as bags and backpacks and wallets. Actually, models can be designed as if shown on an avatar or on a rack. Also, you can change the hangers. For example, you can add a logo or you can change the color. Ultimately, it is your own choice how you would like to use Clo 3D. Also, you can present your designs folded as in a mood board. Now you can also show the internal pockets or the stuffing or the internal layers. Now the important question about the price for the software. First month of use is absolutely free. You actually will need this time in order to get a test drive of the software, learn more about it, and decide whether it fits your needs. Going forward, you will be expected to pay $50 per month, or alternatively, you can get a yearly subscription at a discount. Now, students will get a discount of 50%. For large corporations and universities, there will be different rates possible, so please contact me directly. Finally, training programs and where to find them. Being a coach and a trainer, I obviously offer my own master classes. Obviously, right now, I'm offering them online. I always propose two options to choose from. One is a series of weekend masterclasses. On weekends, you can actually master the software pretty quickly. But those who may need more time to master the program, I offer 1 month long courses. Well, the nearest courses will start in April, next one in May, so pretty much it's a monthly cadence. So we study over Zoom on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 6 and 9 p.m. Now, these courses are delivered live, but also, there are video recordings available, and they will remain available for you for about 2 months. So, for example, if you missed a lesson, you should be able to watch it online later. And naturally, throughout your training course, you are more than welcome to use the free trial version. Those who know nothing about Clo 3D are very much invited to my free to attend masterclass, which I'm going to run on the 31st of March. There I'm going to show how 3D can be used and where to apply it. Communications and the community. Now, when your training is over, this doesn't mean you will be left stranded. We actually have a huge community of users. Actually, CloSat platform is a very important feature of the community. You can actually upload your 3D model there and ask the other users for their feedback and maybe recommendations or necessary changes, regardless of where you are. As long as you have access online, I'm more than welcome to participate in these discussions, and actually no additional software is required. Next platform to discuss here is CloLab. Actually, with CloLab, you can discuss and exchange opinions with other Clo users. Now, if you browse this page, you are going to see a red window like this. All it says at CloLab is going to be called differently now. It will be called Closet Connect, and I think they are going to have a major communication campaign to support this change. The slide says, "Thank you for your attention." Yes, this has been a short presentation of my program. I realize I've delivered my speech pretty fast. I do hope that the stuff I presented you found interesting and even useful. I will be happy to take your questions. Thank you very much, Julia. This has been a very rich speech. I realized that in Cloud 3D you can actually create digital collections as well as a digital showroom for your brand. Now we have Podolsk, Shulkovo, Kiev, Warsaw, and United Kingdom joining this call. And let me answer a particular question here about the timetable for the conference. Well, actually, you can check it out on our landing page on the Fashion Factory School website. Now, the question about the 31st of March webinar to Julia. Oh, if you want to attend it, I can just drop a link here in the chat. Sure, that should work, thank you. Questions are streaming past me very fast. Now, you've mentioned that the Closat platform is going to become a commercial product. Has this already happened? No, it hasn't happened yet. And can one model neat headwear in Cloud 3D? Well, the short answer is yes. Yes, you can do that. Good. I have an impression that I've missed some questions. I'm sorry. This chat is happening very fast. Hello, Odessa. And the question is like this. Does it make sense for me to study Cloud 3D if I know nothing about design or modeling? Oh, it certainly does. In my latest program, I actually had participants who knew absolutely nothing about garment construction. So it is possible. Great, thank you. There are actually a few dimensions available in Cloud 3D. Can I actually use my own models? Yeah, absolutely. You can actually import additional avatars. A question about the price to pay for the trainings. How about I just share all this information in the chat, if this works? Yeah, it does. Thank you. So we will be looking forward for this update from you. Yes, I'll do it shortly. Great, thank you very much. I'm waiting for more questions to come. Yes, thank you very much. Another one. Does Close support programming languages such as Python? No, it doesn't. How do we find Julia on social media? I think Julia should be able to mention this in the chat as well. If I don't know much about computers, does it make sense for me to participate in your program? Well, I guess everybody can use a computer mouse, right? Yeah, I guess so. Can we actually do online fitting with Clo? I'm not sure I understand the question, by the way. Ludmila, do you think I can see this chat as well? Well, in any case, I will continue, listening to the other speakers. In the meanwhile, I can also take the other questions. Yeah, sure, that sounds like a great idea. So thank you very much, Julia. Well, thank you. Please send your questions in. Can I actually start making money? Can I monetize my newfangled knowledge right after the course? Well, I actually believe that after you've gone through any training, you actually need to acquire some experience, which you then should be able to monetize. Can we have links? Sure, just bear with us a couple of seconds, please. I guess all the links will be available in the chat shortly. Is the software available online or do I need to download it? Are there mobile versions of the software? Julia? No, I'm sorry. I'm not sure I understood the question. Something must be wrong with my connection. It's just a desktop software, so you cannot really use it if you're, say, trying to use it on a smartphone or a tablet. Yeah, let's thank Julia for this very interesting speech, and it is with great pleasure that I would love to introduce Maria Shevchenko, who is the founder of 3D Couture and also the founder of the first online school for 3D modeling and garment construction, actually called 3D Couture. This school has been around since 2017. Over 350 people have taken trainings with 3D Couture, and now they can be found on Dressix and Replicant and other well-known platforms. So they're actually teaching Clo 3D and DAS 3D, and these courses make sense for garment designers, wannabe designers, because you can actually join a course knowing nothing about the industry. Hello, Maria. Oh, hello, Ludmila, and thank you very much for the invitation. I believe I should be able to tell you a bit more, and I really liked what Julia said. I'll try not to repeat what you heard from her, and I'll try to take as many questions as I can. Well, I actually have an advantage over Julia. As I was listening to her, I added some slides to my presentation, so I should be able to answer more questions. My school has been around for 4 years, out of which 3 years I've been teaching Clo 3D. I'm actually a garment designer by trade, and I'm using Clo 3D in my daily work. My hobby is clothes visualization. And now I'm going to tell you how my hobby became my profession. The slide says that Maria teaches at British High School of Design. So this year I was invited to British High School of Design, despite the name is based in Moscow, and I'm an official trainer there now, and we have conducted several in-situ trainings together with the British School curators. We now understand more about how to do this and how to teach people better, and I believe that my course now meets all the requirements and expectations, not just of designers or constructors, but also visualizers, or people who dream of getting these jobs in the industry. Roughly 60% of my students are not professional garment designers. Many of them are so fresh and new to the industry, but actually lots of them start making money before the course is over. Well, we've got different tariffs. For example, with some tariff plans, you can actually freeze your training. And this is what happens very often. People get in touch with me and say, I'm sorry, I won't be able to attend the following classes because I've got a huge order to work on. Just like with many other professions, the level of uncertainty here is quite high. So what is professional visualization, and how do you know what your professional level is, and how do you quantify, how do you price what you do? There is no single answer to this question. Actually, if you browse the market, you will be surprised that the difference in prices for the same kind of work may be up to 50x, 50. And actually, that's why some clients probably do not understand why people are charging this or that amount of money, and they may actually look at you askew. Thanks to Cloud 3D, a virtually new profession sprang to life. Cloud 3D is so powerful that alone it can actually satisfy the needs of numerous industries. Just imagine, you can try templates, build them, model them, design them, and actually do professional visualization and participate, well, if not in animation, then you can at least shoot videos showing how your clothes will behave on avatars. So the software helps you simulate how clothes you design will work on humans. And actually, I'm not using a single photo in my presentation. All these are visualizations. I'm often asked, why are you using this photo? Well, that's not a photo. All of these are visualizations. And I'm actually trying to have very precise visualizations so that, they fully reflect our expectations from the physical world. I want my visualizations to be so good that they will be nearly indistinguishable from real life. And actually, some of my very good students, they actually stay with me. We run projects together, and I'm going to show a project like this at the end of my presentation. It's a new thing. It's not complete yet, but I'm going to show the way we work, and I think you'll find it very interesting. None of us are professional animators. None of us are professional 3D generalists creating 3D objects. All of us are either newfangled visualizers or garment constructors or designers. So the main difference between Cloud 3D and other virtual graphics software suites is that visualization in Cloud 3D, visualization of volumetric shapes, is based on templates. That is, we put into the program 2D templates, but as an output, we get 3D clothes. So clothes gets visualized and simulated, so it starts behaving like your regular fabric in the real world. And it's great, because it makes it very realistic. Very often, we can simulate the behavior of fabric in virtual reality in such a manner that will be indistinguishable from real photos, because of the faults, because of the creases. It naturally depends on how good you are, how much you know about the program, but it's real. It is very, very possible. This is how we can actually imbue virtual reality with all the features of real world. So this is the interface of the program. On the left we have the templates, on the right we have the visualization. And naturally we will be using avatars. Avatars may differ in terms of size. There are not too many of them, but just like Julia said, bringing in external avatars is easy. So depending on what your objective is, you can either bring physically precise avatars, which are good for fitting, or beautiful avatars for the purposes of visualization. And this is great because it makes our visualizations even better. So I'm showing here how interesting your visualizations can be. I experiment a lot with realistic feel and with fabric simulations, and it's a challenge to me to show very realistically looking worn fabric or wrinkled fabric. It requires in-depth understanding of the software, but it's an interesting challenge indeed. So in the left photo with the man, you see a Cloud 3D render. It's actually an internal render. Now the software itself has this rendering engine on board, which produces this kind of quality. On the right hand, you see a different render, not from Cloud 3D. It actually comes from DAZ 3D IRR renders. And DAZ 3D, unlike Cloud, is a free-to-use software. And I love using avatars and working with avatars there because they are very realistic. And there are plugins there that can help you take measurements and change circumferences and change their height and so on. But actually, there are so many opportunities we can find on Cloud 3D alone. Actually, there are lots of proprietary types of software where it's impossible to bring in anything that's external to the software. Not the case with Cloud 3D. It is actually very friendly to other pieces of software. So the day you decide that this quality or this level of realism is not enough for you, that you want something special, or I actually had this request recently from a client. They wanted very realistic looking jeans from me. And all the tools were there, but the shading I was looking for could not be found. There were this little aspect of the external look of a fabric which I couldn't find. And therefore I turned to a different piece of software which was extremely compatible with Cloud 3D. No problem at all. Actually, in the previous meeting we had, it was summer, right? And there was a representative of Cloud 3D. So I asked them, when are we going to see a richer palette of shading features? And she looked at me like this and she said, why should we need it? I mean, aren't we fine? But you know what? 2 months later, they released an update which enabled us to use Substance Designer and external materials, which means that the developers are so much immersed in this market, they have such an acute feel for the needs of the designers that they keep updating the software. And by the way, I redesign my course sort of from scratch every year. And then I develop, additional lessons for my course because, there are new features being added or new links and interfaces becoming available. But then it actually makes it more difficult for you guys because there is more stuff to learn. Let's move on. Here I want to show a video of how Fabric works in Cloud 3D. So I did this animation myself. I animated the run as well. And I can tell you later by the end of my presentation how you can do the same. So look at the behavior of the fabric. Look at the way it behaves on her coat and on her pants. So we see the wind there and we see the lady flying and all the folds are pretty realistic. We may have the impression that this is how fabric should behave, but mind you, it's just a computer simulation. Interestingly, with this software, we can simulate fabric both in motion and at rest. Now, what all of this means is that this software is targeting a pretty large crowd. Well, we can try the templates out and we can also change the templates. So it's an ideal piece of software for a constructor who wants to check if the template is right or if he correctly understood what the designer had in mind. Obviously, such precise fitting is only possible if you have a pretty good understanding of the software. I read in some communities posts by the veteran constructors who would say things like, well, we know what your visual fitting is like. It's no good, the old way is better. It actually isn't. So if you introduce in your visualization, the technologies and the behavior of the fabric that you have in real life, you will have a physically correct output from your software. I, for one, see many more defects with the digital fitting compared to the real one, but this doesn't mean that we should say, come on, no fitting anymore, just give us the ideal templates and we start seeing right away. Obviously, this is not the case, because in the real seeing process, the technology used plays a very important role. Why is it? How hard your seams are, nuances of equipment, and the kind of fusing technologies you're using, because they change the properties of the fabric, they provide shape stability, they protect cuts from stretching. So the same techniques should be reproduced in Cloud 3D. So for example, if you're using fusible interface for an arms hole in real life, do the same in the digital design. Same goes, say, for full length fusing. And the capabilities of the software enable you to reproduce all these gluing and fusing techniques. In the same software, we can actually check gradations. I'm not going to repeat myself here. In many of my previous speeches, I actually explained how automatic gradation works. We can actually grade and increase, for example, the size of our object, or we can replace the avatar, and then the artificial intelligence of the software is going to change the pattern for the avatar. Well, certainly I tested with my team, and I've already recorded a video on YouTube with my team where we discuss how we do gradation in real life versus the grading in the software. Well, I may disagree with some elements of this gradation process, but it can still be a good starting point. So, for example, you produce this original piece for a size 42. Now you're doing gradation for a size 52. And then you will be using size 52 as the new basis. So with these changes, this kind of workflow, this kind of working process can give you the fastest result with pretty good quality. Software is all very well, but designers and constructors absolutely need to use their brains as well. So very often people tell me, what, I don't have any experience, but if I simply put photos in the software, what kind of patterns am I going to get? That I don't know. It's just a tool. It's a very reliable, it's a highly functional tool, which enables you to work very well with designs and patterns, but obviously it is not going to replace your creativity. And let me answer straight away the question of whether we can use no templates at all. Well, you can. Or you can download some templates from the internet. They don't cost much. But as you progress, as you acquire more experience, you will be able to start producing them just like that. You will be able to draw them very quickly. Well, that may take some time. Every visualizer will have his or her own reference library. It's a library of textures and fabrics and also lighting schemes and locations. It's a whole library because we want to make sure that everything fits well and design works, but we also need to present our design properly. And this is something we're going to discuss next. But before that, let's go back to construction. So look at the virtual avatars from Alvenon. They actually cost something, but some of you may know that Alvenon is actually the leading manufacturer of real-life mannequins. They are like the veritable leader in this market, and they're also producing virtual avatars. So we're waiting for a new update from them. They promised a total refreshment of their platform. I think they've got a total of something like 40 sizes. So you can easily choose the dimensions that work for you. Obviously, they have children, infants, men, women of different shapes, and obviously Alvenon do not sit on their hands. They keep developing new avatars, they keep doing anthropometric measurements of humans on this planet. So, for example, you can buy an avatar for an average European, or an average American, or an average Chinese, and obviously if you're working for the Japanese market, you will need their Japanese avatars. And this is a great opportunity. Now that's so much cheaper than ordering a model from Japan. Can you imagine that? I actually know designers who work for the Japanese market. I know people like this, they live in Moscow, they work for the Japanese market. That's so convenient. Virtual fitting, says the slide. So I'm showing the work of Varvara, my former student. I think this is one of the best ways of showing to your client how you created a particular asset for him. So it's also very good for fitting your particular design for people of different shapes. As a garment constructor, working with clients, I can be given two models. Why is that? Well, in order to see if a particular asset works well with certain types of shapes. This is very important for constructors working for the mass market. Now, you probably know that the same type of size may actually correlate with different shapes, and something that's well designed for a particular shape will not work with other body shapes. It's so easy with digital avatars, Claw 3D avatars enable doing it with a single mouse click. And then the sizes that you like, you can actually save them as separate avatars. And then you can upload them to your workspace with a single mouse click. Digital design. I must have been talking too much about the work of constructors. Let me switch now to a more interesting subject, that is visualization and digital design. The array of professions that need visualization today is mind-boggling. I tried listing in this slide the areas where such digital design can be used, divorced, so to speak, from real life. We are going to discuss this kind of design, which in most cases is not expected to be translated into real life, right away. Young, new designers, for example, can develop prototypes of their future collections for the virtual world. And a designer can do it all alone, not calling the support, say, of a technologist or a seamstress or what have you. And if this digital collection doesn't get the attention of investors or the public, he can keep it in his library and talk about it as his or her challenge. But if people like it, well, then you can certainly see the things and produce the things that people like. Also, we can run digital fashion shows. Unlike real ones, fashion shows in the digital world have got lots of advantages. You can also produce content for social media. Now, the first content that was designed in the world of digital fashion design turned heads, and people were really surprised. How come we see clothes walking without humans? Now, this used to shock people, but not anymore. Obviously, we need to find new ways to attract the attention of people, to keep them interested. To retain their eyeballs, we need to invent some fantastic worlds. We need to tell stories about our characters, and this can still work very well. Now, digital art is very active now. I actually know of a bunch of platforms selling digital art. And the fashion-related part of this world is feeling very good. Well, obviously, the tickets tend to be all over the place. Some prices are very high, others are very low. Very often, they actually sell for tokens. That is, you will always be able to know who is currently owning your piece of digital art. And there is great interest in this field at the moment. And we're actually playing a minor role in that. Like, if you're a designer specializing in fantastic assets, you can sell them to collectors of digital art. And self-personalization in the virtual world is something we'll cover later. Now, this picture comes from a post I displayed yesterday in my Instagram, and next to it is a different visualization done by an amateur. This one is designed to show why visualizations tend to fetch very different prices. People often say, I had this dress made for me for 500 rubles. How come you expect me to pay you 10,000 rubles? But see the difference for yourself. What would you prefer? And by the way, how much time would it take me to do any of these visualizations? Now, the girl on the right will take me roughly half an hour. I actually spent that much time producing the sewing patterns from scratch. For the left one, I think I'm going to spend 7 to 8 hours working on it. And this is so much more than just producing the template. It includes everything, and obviously templates tend to differ. I had this comment yesterday. People would tell me, well, isn't it the same piece? You just took a different avatar, you took a different lighting scheme, and you actually are using, some pre-generated fabric, so it probably took you some 5 minutes. Come on, look at how the seams are visualized here. On the right, we see straight lines and a bit of gathering. On the left, we see that the seamstress pulled too tight on one of the threads, and in some areas she didn't iron it properly because it's organza, so we can see some of the wrinkles, some of the faults, so it doesn't look ideal. And she actually pulled the drawstring a bit too tight around the waist. And you can also notice that the wrap around the edge has been folded, and there is a stitch going there, and apparently her sewing machine was not properly regulated. Are you seeing it now? I'm not even saying here how much time and effort it cost me to select the right references, and obviously I'm using a organza reference from a library, but do you see how granulated? Do you see the light reflecting from it? And it feels like there is light getting stuck there in the fabric and being reflected only from some of the strands. So I actually played a lot with the toggles, I experimented a lot, I changed the normal map, I played with it, and it doesn't seem unanimously, uniformly white. With the synthetic materials, if you wash them, they become sort of grayish. Some fabrics have it from the very beginning, so I tried reproducing this effect here as well. All the seams here are outsized, so you probably can't see it everywhere, but if you look hard, you should be able to see that the outsized areas, they gleam a little bit. Because they have different transparency, you will see it around the bottom of the dress. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Obviously, you can also work on the avatar with the lighting schema. See the play of light in the dress? You can actually see that light is actually getting stuck there around the folds of the dress. And the visualization on the right, I guess you can buy for 500 rubles, but nobody will do it for you like you have on the left for 500 rubles. I'm not sure many people can do it for 10,000 rubles either. But let's move on. Designer self-presentation. Let's talk about videos now. So that's your usual catwalk type of walk, and I collected here all sorts of assets I produced for different companies, for different projects, just to show how you can actually present your collection, without getting overstressed about a location and what have you. So this movement, I actually bought it for $20. I didn't spend any time producing it, and I've been using it since then. This is a great advantage of the modern workflow. You can actually focus on clothes alone and delegate everything else. You don't need to be the animator or the screenwriter or the hard surface expert. These are the guys producing environmental assets. You can actually buy or find free of charge, because lots of people upload their products free of charge. And you can actually find free to use movements on a platform called Mixamo. We actually discuss in our course how you can use it, how you can leverage them in Clo, how you can use them for simulations. So this movement I took from DAZ, and then I added those micro movements of her hands. They are small, but you can actually see her flexing her fingers a little bit. It took me a couple of minutes and it made the whole thing more realistic. Obviously, you can add here some head movements and facial expressions, and that doesn't require you being a professional animator. This is something I recently checked with XYZ School, and they say their animation course runs for a year. I was real interested, but I'm a fast learner, and I cannot really invest in a year-long course. 3 or 4 months is the longest I can do. And this is my principle, and this is how I'm trying to teach myself, because otherwise, it's very easy to lose motivation and concentration. That's why I insist on all my courses being very laconic, very compact. So what we see here is a realistic fabric simulation. So see, it is simulated, not animated. Do you know the difference? Compared to animation you see in cartoons. Well, cartoon characters, they're also wearing clothes, but their clothes is not simulated. It moves just like the avatar moves. The way it works is that, their clothes sort of have joints. Here, not the case. Because of gravity, it actually behaves in a physically proper way. Well, obviously, we have fantastic tools at our disposal. We can add wind, or we can cancel gravity, or we can have inverse gravity if we want. But in most cases, we need to simulate a physically plausible behavior of a fabric. Now I'm showing here what the students of our community did. This pretty much shows what you can muster by the end of a course. See how complex some of these pieces are. And some of these visualization experts, they already have their own clients, and they're working for clients from around the world. For example, Natalie here is from Germany, while Lisa Rodiono is from Israel, while Yelena is from Australia. So we've got students from all over the world, and being part of the same community, we communicate, we share our findings, and we discuss our great finds, because obviously it's still a new fangled industry, and some algorithms that we deploy are not easy to understand, and very often you're trying to approach something that has never done, something that nobody has ever done before, or something that they did, but they did in a different manner. And this is what, the girls have done. They've found ways to visualize in a more realistic manner. Do you feel that the textures here, the fabrics here, they seem so real? They seem tangible, and obviously a single course doesn't get you there. You need to be passionate about it. You need to study all the tools to understand how they are organized. I'm a big believer in that. I don't want you to put step by step down and simply memorizing them. I believe it is important to understand the logic behind the software. Then we will be able to come up with great things. Digital content. What I'm showing here is an example of a fashion show that would be impossible in real life. For example, we can have our avatars swim or fly or visit alien planets. So this kind of visualization is growing in demand now because it's unusual. It tends to puzzle the audience, and things that are interesting to watch obviously produce a lot of interest. And we are in this industry to surprise people, so we keep looking for new ways of surprising them. I'm not a designer or an artist by first education, but I'm still looking for internal sources of creativity in order to present my art in a manner that makes it interesting for people to watch. And I guess we also need to train our artistic field, because with the progress of time, things are becoming more difficult. But I guess they also become more interesting. I mentioned digital art before, and I'm showing a platform here called No Origins. Known Origin, I'm sorry. So you can actually see the prices there. Prices not in dollars, but in tokens. So you will discover some of the products that are really expensive and they still sell. So this digital art we can also produce. Obviously, it's easier for us to produce clothes-related art because we've got the tools for that, and we've got more ideas, I guess. Starting from this here, we are able to sell digital clothes. Clothes that will never ever be produced in fabric. Like, you can actually have a digital look for nothing but your photo, so that your avatar wears it, so that people can see it online and this is it. The usual looks no longer turn the eyeballs. Like previously, if you produced a sweatshirt or a hoodie out of liquid metal, people would consider it special. Not anymore. You need to impress the people, so that, people go, wow. So digital designers producing assets like this, and I'm showing DressX platform, where the works of our community are sold, and actually getting there is not that easy. It's a matter of guild recognition, so to speak, if you're allowed into DressX. And we do have some of our designers there, and you can buy their stuff. There is another platform, it's a project by Regina Turbina. She's a pioneer of digital fashion in Russia, the first digital designer. And very often, what you see there is more interesting than the stuff you find on DressX. Although the sneakers I've just seen, they are a classic of digital design. I think pretty much everybody has been spotted in them already, and they do sell well. I actually see lots of bloggers on social media wearing this stuff. Now, this is a Tatiana's fur coat. Tatiana is a well-known digital designer of very special things. She's got a penchant for these fantastic things. Some visualizers, such as myself, for example, they prefer realism, while some other designers, they decide they will only produce something that is fantastic and totally unrealistic, and this is something that can be monetized today. It's interesting. Well, slowly but steadily, we're all moving into the virtual world, and the big question is, what do we look like there? That's where the interest in avatars, personal avatars, is coming from. So you can actually create your own copy for the digital world. That will look pretty much like the real you. What you see here is the product by Natalia Gusselman. She actually specializes in avatars like this. She has done lots of them. I'm just showing one here. So she uses photos to create a digital copy of her client. Now, if you attended the previous conference, you may remember Valery Malivar with Alona Po. And he said that he shouldn't even be approached if you are going to pay him less than 3 million rubles. Well, Natalia charges at least 10 times less. Now, if Natalia is listening to this, she may actually mention in the chat how much she charges. And that's, a pretty realistic avatar. It walks, it talks. So any animation that current software is capable, your avatar can have, including mimics, movements, postures. So if you're interested, please talk. I always mention the contact details of my students because I believe that if you're interested in these things, but you don't want to learn it, you don't want to go through this ordeal of doing it yourself, but you can actually have it done for you and you can run your social media with your avatar, because this is special. People are attracted to this thing now, and such an avatar will be an alter ego of you. I guess that's very interesting. I don't know how much time we have. I hope I'm doing okay, but I know that Ludmila will set me right if I get anything wrong. So let's look at the software you need in order to work in the industry. Let me show you this video. We produced it for Digit Fashion Lab. I produced it together with a designer specializing in jeans, and this designer is from France. So I listed here the software that such kind of work requires. Well, if you work only in Clo 3D, you will be able to reproduce clothes at a high quality level and have average avatar reproduction. However, jeans with affects, with the boiled sort of affects, require a bit of artistry. So Clo 3D or Marvelous Designer is the software we need, all in one. The avatar, postures, movements, rendering, and also using external avatars or importing avatars, and then you can send your clothes simulations to other programs. If this is not enough for you, you can add several more software products that will take your work to a higher level. Photoshop, Illustrator, and After Effects, you don't really need to know everything about them, but you need to be a pretty sound user because we absolutely need the post-processing and the textures from Photoshop. Without After Effects, we won't be able to produce such videos because what we get is a sequence of frames. And you also see the effects coming from After Effects here, such as this impulse thing. So the avatar you can see here, it's not a Chloe avatar. If you actually see how her hands and how her legs bend, this is actually the big differentiator of new generation avatars. In DAZ, they feel like real ones, like made of skin, not made of rubber. Also Substance Painter. I said previously that I drew textures. The textures you see here, some I bought, some I drew myself. Also, I have procedural textures here. I did around the seams, So I used a procedure, which is like a short piece of code, which you put on any UV, and it will generate these boiled effects around the seams. So it took me quite a long time with the jeans because I also had to learn more about the software, because this kind of visualization obviously requires a lot of hard work and an in-depth understanding of how the tool works. Having produced this texture, you should be able to use it for different assets, and you will be able to move the holes around or the boil effect around. See how realistic the folds look, because some of them look convex. And actually I took it all from references. And as per the instructions of my client and designer, I would visualize the required effects. I didn't invent it on my own. This is how the client wanted it. She wanted this design to be like this. She told me of all the shapes she wanted. So very briefly, let me tell you about the courses. Right now, I'm offering one course called Chloe 3D from Zero to Pro. I'm not teaching you the very basics, I'm teaching you everything you need to know, because I don't really know how to distinguish between the basics and the advanced level. Like the dress that I showed, I think I can teach you to produce something like this in a day. This kind of visualization doesn't interest many people now. I believe you need to master the software in full to be able to produce high quality work and to surprise your client. So stopping short of that is not good enough. I don't think it's okay to actually teach people like half the software. That's why in this course, Chloe 3D from Zero to Pro covers everything. Now, as regards external avatars, it is part of the DAZ course. And this course, I do hope, will become available next week. We're still doing the final video editing. We've already tested individual lessons from this course with our community. I was interested in how easy they were to understand. It's a slightly different program. It's targeting visualizers, not constructors. And after all, we're not animators, we're not generalists who take several years to study their craft, nor are we digital artists who have fundamental education. We are trying to get very far with very little effort. So if a software enables you to buy the environment for $15, $20, perfect. If you can choose an avatar, if you can say buy a lighting scheme, with all the effects that you need like in a photo studio, if you can also buy the post-processing effects, isn't that great? Because then, as an artist, I can combine them all and have the final product, rather than paying dozens of thousands of rubles to animators and paying 3 million rubles to the character designer. I can modularize the work of the others. If I can do it, what's wrong with it? And this way a single person can launch his or her personal fashion show at a totally different level. So our new course on DAZ 3D will not cover designing clothes. We'll only be talking about how you can take it from Claude to Daz and back. So we'll be talking a lot about the nuances of inter-software communication. So we'll be dealing with presentations, with avatars, with the interesting little things. It's a more advanced course, I guess. So it makes sense to enroll in it if you're really comfortable with Claude 3D, because Claude 3D simulations tend to be pretty challenging. It's very easy to get stuck there if you don't have fundamental knowledge. I'm also planning a course on Substance Painter, but that requires developing, a series of affects, not just for jeans, but also for like older clothes or seasoned clothes. I really like this sort of designs. I find these textures very inspirational and I want to learn how to work with them better. So this is something I am planning in about a year or so. And obviously, I'm studying it now myself, but obviously with a view of teaching others one day. And by the way, we have separate lessons on other pieces of software. For example, you absolutely need to know Photoshop, at least at a basic level, otherwise your visualizations will be lousy. Photoshop enables you to circumnavigate the constraints imposed by other pieces of software. I've done my Photoshop training. Obviously, I don't know Photoshop as much as a digital artist or digital painters know it, but I have pretty good command of it, so I can do retouching, digital retouching there, I can do color correction, I can deal with all sorts of textures there. And the 3D module in Photoshop now is quite powerful and it can also be used for our needs. Adobe Illustrator, so if you're using templates or if you're using fabric patterns, you need either Illustrator or CorelDRAW. Actually, I've mentioned several times that using various fabrics in the software is very easy and we can combine some patterns, but first we need to bring those pictures into the software, which means that they need to be drawn somewhere. So if you want to print on pre-cut fabric, and it's a very strong trend now that we print, we personalize on pre-cut fabric right away, then you'll be using a laser cutter, for example, coming from a company called SmartC, and I love them very much because we run so many experiments with them in exhibitions and elsewhere. So their equipment helps you see the borders of your design, or rather, it will only do the printing within the borders of the templates. So it's using computer vision to do the cutting with a laser. So it does the cutting and all the boundaries are thermally sealed. So in order to use this digital cutting tool, you obviously need Illustrator. And for effects and video editing, you need Premiere or After Effects. You may also use DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut. They can also be used instead of the ones I mentioned. Well, because we can do production on our own, or you can outsource it, but if you know how to compile a video with a couple of clicks, this should be handy. So I've got lessons like this as part of my main course. You don't need to master the whole software in order to create videos. You watch one video, you follow my routine, my workflow, and voila, you have your video. I would prefer to study like this myself. I actually had to study so many things on my own. Yes, I'm listening. Okay, give me 2 more minutes, okay? This you must have read already. So I'm showing Daz here. I really wanted to show you the final video here. It actually is a final video of our whole team. By the way, you can always order your visualizations from my team. Now, all these people are my former students, but they're a team now. They're developing presentations and visualizations. These are the contact details if you're interested. In the meanwhile, I want you to see our work in progress. We are sort of testing the capabilities of us as a team. What you see here is a digital avatar. It's a shame I couldn't tell you more about it. So we're actually working here with the avatar of a real designer, but let's look at the avatar. Like I said, this is work in progress. I hope we'll be able to present it in its final form in about 2 weeks. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be glad to answer your questions, and I will leave my contact details in the chat. I actually started with them, but maybe you didn't put them down. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much, Ludmila, for the invitation. You can hear me now, can't you? Thank you very much. Maria. So many thanks from the audience for your inspirational speech. The chat is filled with thanks. I'm seeing a very heated discussion in the chat about digital fashion, the knowledge required, economics of it all, and so on. Do you think, Maria, that proper study of digital design can be combined with a proper job in some other industry? Yes, and most of my students do exactly that. Because all of us have got families to attend to, we've got other jobs. So if you actually want to change your occupation, well, this only means that you have some time in the evenings and around the weekends. That's why we structure the course like this. The video lessons are recorded, but I also provide personal support twice per day in the morning and in the evening, and I will also record personal video lessons. Great, thank you, Maria. Can you also provide links to your website, your Instagram, and your courses? I hope you can take a screenshot of the screen right now or just put the contacts down. A burning question. What kind of equipment and how expensive should it be, in your opinion, in order for people to progress in 3D modeling? Now, it is a challenging question. You may fail to have initial knowledge, but proper equipment is a must-have. And I think that the right sort of equipment starts at roughly 100,000 rubles. You need a proper GPU. Well, it should be NVIDIA GeForce 1060 at least, if you follow me. And the CPU should be at least i7. And you need to have at least 16 gigabytes of memory. And actually, if you can invest in something, invest in the graphics card. Thank you very much. We have another equally burning question. What kind of a team does a digital designer need in order not to be a lone wolf? Well, but you can be a lone wolf, and you can be quite successful as a lone wolf. We actually know people like this. They are well known on the internet. And, very often they attract the attention of brands with their crazily good products. And, very often they are invited to join brand teams in some unique capacity. But if you want to create an agency, you will need a 3D designer, an animator, and a motion designer. Because we need to produce animation. We need to teach our virtual avatars to move. We need to produce clothes, and we also need to edit videos. So these are the 3 areas to cover. Also, having a good manager, somebody who can talk to the client, this, I guess, is the most important thing. Oh, I do agree. Now, we are getting offers from lots of teams and lots of programmers. What they all have in common is that they all do not understand the role of proper management and proper curatorship, even if your project is incredibly ingenious. Every genius needs a manager. Well, that's exactly what you teach, and that's what we love about your school. You teach management for the world of fashion, and it's impossible to succeed in the modern world of fashion without management. Oh, this is so right. We do believe that every designer and every entrepreneur who succeeds in the industry helps the whole industry succeed. And this is equally true for digital fashion. Thank you very much, Maria, for your presentation. I see that all the necessary links are being uploaded to the chat, and here, with great pleasure, I'm about to introduce Yelena Kazantseva, a co-founder of courses on creation of 3D clothes called Kazan Tools. And they also have a side business, digitizing real piece clothes. She has a professional degree in garment design. Note that the founders of the best schools actually have the required competencies. She also got a postdoc degree in psychology, industrial psychology, let me stress. I think that it's very important to be a good psychologist in this field. And for 6 years, she actually read courses on Marvelous Designer in a school called 3D Magic. For the last several years, she's been working as a 3D artist for Camelot, and she was involved in the development of games such as My Little Pony, Dungeon Hunter, Asphalt, and Disney Princess. Actually, My Little Pony was a game that was very popular with my younger daughter. Hello everybody, a pleasure to see you all. A pleasure to present our school, to tell about 3D modeling of clothes. I will fully second everything the previous speaker said. I absolutely liked everything that Maria said about 3D modeling of clothes and why we need it. I think you covered it all so beautifully. Well, at least that's how I see it. I would love to start sharing my screen to run a short presentation that will explain who I am, what my school does, why not us? Actually, Ludmila is absolutely right. I've been running courses on Marvelous Designer. My name is Yelena Kazantseva, and my company is called Kazan Tools. And by the way, this is our Instagram if you're interested. So for about 5 years, I've been teaching Marvelous Designer on several platforms. Maya courses, and also, we've been running courses specifically designed at the textile industry for about a year. And how about this? Perfect. So what's special about it? The knowledge that I acquired when I was a student in 3D modeling gave me lots and lots of tools. At the time when I started, there were only 15 tools available. When you become a professional, you start working for a large company, your arsenal, your toolbox expands colossally. And very few people will be using the same kind of software to address all sorts of problems. So for every little challenge, we would use different tools. In my past, I was indeed a modeler of knitwear. This is my degree, this is my education, and I actually needed it very much. My ambitions were all in this industry. But then I joined the IT industry, and I was still passionate about my past. I thought it was very important to be in demand there as well. I couldn't really leave the textile industry. When I had all the tools for CG and 3D modeling and visualization at my fingertips, I knew I couldn't just sit on my hands. I absolutely had to share it with the world. There are not too many people who start in the textile industry and then cover IT, so I decided I was the right person to do that. So naturally, I started my courses, and it was a walk in the park somehow. I actually believe that if you are doing, what you're cut out to do, you absolutely must make money. So our courses turned out to be pretty large, and what sets us apart from other schools and something I consider extremely good and beneficial is that we're using a wide array of software products like this. What you see here is the structure of our course. So we are using a wide array of products. And actually, there is no other way, because how can you do texturing without Photoshop? How can you present your idea properly if you are not using Mixamo? And if you want to have a super presentation of your idea, where rendering plays a very important role, and we're talking about much better rendering than, regular sort of seamstresses will know. I mean, with the same software you will use for modeling, you won't get far. That's why we include Cinema 4D, and Redshift is something we're studying right now in Cinema 4D. So we cover a broad array of software products that an expert may need. And this is what makes us unique. So to cut the long story short, I think every person will want to find his or her own product. So if you believe that you need something more than simply sewing and making print screens of your screen and doing rendering in the same piece of software, and you actually want to be more competitive in this industry, then I guess you will realize that you need more than a single software product. To give you a metaphor, like in your kitchen, you may have a very good reliable device, something you use to cut cabbage and cut eggs and open bottles and maybe crack the nuts. There are little devices like this, and they actually be, quite expensive, not necessarily $10, and they will be multifunctional. Yeah, they will also make a ravioli for you. And chances are you will be using this device for like a single function or maybe two, which means that all the other functions or features are not used at all, or are used to a very small extent. We do believe, and my personal practice shows that if you want to be above the others, if you want to be an outstanding expert, if simple competition with the other modelers, 3D modelers right now is not good enough for you, if you want to compete in the higher league, a year or 2 years later, it will be considered bad style not to know 3D modeling. It's like, interior designers bringing in their hand-drawn drawings. We actually cannot think of interior designers without proper visualizations. This was not the case before, but finally, 3D design is part of interior design, and it's impossible to conceive now of a good expert who is not going to show you a digital album. So interior designers today are competing in terms of the quality of their visualization, and the same is going to happen to the textile industry, maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years' time. I can actually show you the work of our student. This is not some post project. It's one of the graduation projects. So this is what they did, while they were still on the program. You can easily imagine what's going to happen to this person after graduation. And people like him, graduate from my school every 3 months, and eventually the market will be saturated with such experts. They will be competing with each other. And then the question will be, what kind of software are you using? And how do you preparing your textures so that they are very realistic? Do you simply download them from the internet, or do you do extra work on them? What kind of software do you use so that your fabrics look great? Having pre-gen materials is good, but if you can actually play with them, this will make your product unique. How do you use frame sequence? How do you make sure it all works smoothly and the ultimate picture is very natural. Like with this dude running there and casting good shit. Now, this is a similar graduation work by different students. Note the quality of work. This is student work, right? It is commonly believed that students do not produce. I mean, their performance is mediocre. They need like 6 months at least before they start producing something you won't be ashamed of. And Maria will correct me if I get it wrong. Quite often it's difficult to find things you would like to show as good products of your students because people come to you because they want to learn. And, therefore, the quality of the work they produce is good for students. Nonetheless, the work of our students gives many people goosebumps, and I feel so good, that it's me who taught this person. And I see how much they're enjoying it, I see them growing, and obviously, they are getting nervous. They start asking me, will I be able to monetize it? Like, how do I make it commercial? I'm certain our students are here as well because we did advertise this conference to them. I hope they are online because this question of how do you valorize, how do you monetize your knowledge is very topical for them. Initially they were like, well, maybe one day I should be able to monetize it. Closer to the end of the course, they're already sensing their potential. They know how awesome they already are. They want to rush into action. They're already waiting for their first clients to call. And they are feeling nervous because there are just several lectures left and they are afraid to venture out into the world. So they get restless and panicky. I'm so glad you decided to run this webinar because I hope it will make it clear to everybody that everything will be fine. The less panic, the more constructive and successful you will be. So, what's special about our program is how we do not teach the basics. We give you all the knowledge you need for Claude 3D and Marvelous Designer. Our students, once they graduate, know everything they need to know about Claude 3D and Marvelous Designer. Another advantage is that you won't have to pay extra. Like first you pay for the basics and then, elsewhere you would pay for the advanced course. I don't know what they call their courses. Like first you get standard course and then get advanced course and then super advanced. We give you Claude 3D and Marvelous Designer from A to Z. How you're going to use them, that's up to you. I think you will find it easy to put them to good use, say with photography. For example, everybody must have seen photos of digital clothes. This is what DressX does, and Ludmila has been involved in it. So you can easily find ways to apply this knowledge, for example, in the world of photography. Also, you can consider how you can apply it in the world of video. Also, you can find ways to monetize it in any aspect. Like if you're a freelancer, if you work for a corporation, or if you work for a game studio. So we provide total exhaustive knowledge. So we're planning to launch additional courses where we will go into even more detail on each of these aspects. But I guess this is for the lazy bones, for those who don't really want to use their own brain power. So we decided to launch the short courses for such people, and I think many will be interested. I know there is a buyer for any kind of product, so we are planning such courses, but they are not a kind of level up courses. They will be more about going deeper into specific niches. But the main course we have provides you with ultimate knowledge of two programs. Now, we can have a holy war here about what is better, Claude 3D or Marvelous Designer. I haven't really noticed what Maria works in must be Claude 3D. We initially promoted Marvel as designer, but then we realized that Claw 3D was really good for high quality post processing. That's why we added Claw 3D, and we are covering both pieces of software in totality. And we're planning to do this going forward, although they have a holy war. People are shedding blood over which software is better, and obviously they have got their pros and cons. That's why we're teaching both. So in order for our students to feel very comfortable about the key products in the industry, they learn both, and then they will decide whether they're going to use a Marvelous Designer, Cinema 4D, Photoshop, Redshift, which is a very professional combination. This is what they use in cinemas or cartoons, because you don't need Claw 3D there. You don't really need to sew clothes there, right? All they need is computer graphics. So you have a cartoon character running around or communicating. There is no sewing involved. So Marvelous Designer, Photoshop, Cinema, and Redshift. No need for Claw 3D. But if sewing is required, then it's Claw 3D. In fact, Claw 3D, Photoshop, Adobe Premiere should be enough. However, we believe that students need to get everything, because you never know what life will bring to them. That's how I often tell them, you may be thinking that your whole world revolves around the textile industry, and tomorrow a cartoon company will tell you, we need you to design clothes for our characters. And then you refocus on this industry, and they've got different requirements. So you may have thought you would spend your whole life in your textile industry. Now you keep doing pretty much the same, but for a totally different industry, so your life turns 180 degrees. So you keep doing clothes modeling, but in a different industry, which is also a lot of fun. So I guess this actually opens new opportunities to you. It actually opens the gates of the whole world to you. You can like what I'm saying. Maria, and then there will be other experts in the same field after me, and I'm certain that you will support me in saying this. This is a skill that lays the world open at your feet. Your skill at clothes modeling will be as strong as the same skill, say, in Japan or United States. So with this skill, you should be able to sell your abilities there. You will be able to either physically relocate, and chances are you will be getting offers like this, so you will be able to emigrate if you want to. And they will invite you, they will provide you with jobs. If you're an outstanding expert, if you have a strong portfolio, they will invite you, they will want you. Or, you can relocate on your own and find jobs. This is a unique kind of skill, and Ludmila will correct me if I get it wrong. The CIS countries are the world's leaders. We've made such a major step ahead. We are making great strides. We are reacting faster than people from many other countries. We have a unique skill in this respect. Our competitors in Europe, well, they've got unique skills as well. And now that there is no competition in Russia, now that there is no competition in Europe or elsewhere, there are so many ways we can monetize this skill. Just ask yourselves what you want your future to be like in 5 years' time. Maybe you want to be in your own big house, raising your family and working freelance and making lots of money. And maybe that's what you want, and you gotta recognize and own up to it. Or maybe you want to emigrate, you finally decided you want change and you have the opportunity. You can do that. Before asking a lecturer, so what happens after that? Or can you help me find a job? Or what kind of future do I have? You gotta first ask yourself what you wanna be. Because this skill will open lots of little niches to you. It could be cinemas or cartoons, or you can work for a textile company. Or you can develop your own personal brand as a textile designer. Or you can simply promote yourself on Instagram. I'll take this girl, for example. So she is in the sewing business. This is what her page looks like right now. So see, she's already promoting herself. She can actually sell her clothes before she has produced them. She can actually participate in remote presentations of her collections. The world is revolving around this subject now. You gotta use it. It's on the rise. You shouldn't miss the opportunity. Now, guys, if you are on this call, it means your third eye is working for you. You've spotted a very important trend. Do not tarry. Time is money. 6 months down the road, you will be in a catch-up mode. So this is absolutely the wave to ride. The faster you go into it, the more bonuses you will have. Your prospects will start opening for you, and then life will nudge you in the right direction. Now, rather than a year later. Do not tarry. Do not waste time. Join a good school. Join those who can teach you the good things. And we're all doing a great job, by the way. So I think I should summarize here. So how does one become a commercially successful designer? Well, this, after all, is the most important subject of this webinar. What I should probably add here, like if you're a brand owner or a budding modeler or designer, remember that what you produce must be visually a candy. Everybody has the talent to generate ideas, but few people know how to present their ideas properly. Maybe you are very good at drawing manually. If this is the case, you can actually make it your thing. But if your drawing skills are not superb, if you feel you don't really stand out from the competition, choose a different skill, such as presentation of your ideas in 3D format or vivid visualizations. They do grab attention. I freeze when I see pictures like this. Now you may think that this means that the quality of sewing is secondary. As a client of such a design, just like a regular person, I will first be motivated by the visuals. Well, next thing I will check is whether he's a nice person, what kind of portfolio he or she has got, and then I will check out her diplomas. But the first thing that can grab my attention is the visuals, and 3D modeling of clothes gives us exactly that. I should probably finish here, right? So 3D modeling helps you beautifully present your ideas at a high quality level. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for listening to all this. If I have a minute more, I would like to show what our students produced. So this is the work of the students produced like a day after they learned a new subject. For what it's worth. And this is the knowledge they've just acquired, right? And they're already working on that. Yes, you can find some artifacts there, but I think it's a very good illustration of how easy it in fact is. Your eyes, as the Russian saying goes, may be scared, but your hands are working. And, often people say, no, this is not my thing. I won't be able to do that. By the way, the average age of our students is 35 to 40. We did a little survey. Well, obviously, we have some young talents as well, but the average age is 35 or even a bit higher than that. Make your conclusions, guys. So these are other student works, and I'm skimming through them quickly. Well, indeed, they differ in terms of quality, and you can pick at them if you like. So let me stress again, this is student designs. Note the quality of textures. By the way, they did it in Claw 3D. Most of the works by our students are rendered in Claw 3D. Cinema 4D and Redshift is something that they study at a later stage. It is one of the last units in the program, which means that they produce so much more in Claw 3D. So if you think it's a nice picture, which it actually is, but see what Redshift would give you. Now Redshift is a bomb. These are some of the latest works by Alina, I think, our young genius, Xenia. Yes, let me stop here. I'm listening for your questions. Thank you very much, Yelena, for such an inspirational, persuasive, and stimulating speech. What is so special about clothes for the gaming industry? Well, no big difference, except the fact that you don't really need to send your layouts to the plotter. I think that for the gaming industry, we tend to be less detailed, we don't really care about tightness of fit, for example. So, for example, if you don't really have some outstanding skills in modeling or garment construction or sewing and cutting, game dev is waiting for you. Because in game dev, a character or an avatar needs to look good, but avatars will never complain if they have badly fitting clothes. Well, there is also a peculiar feature about retopology. You shouldn't have too many polygons there. So there are nuances about processing the grid. Like the grid's gotta be special, not too much of it, but visually has to look good, like here. So it's a fine balancing act, because you don't want too many polygons there. And this is the kind of knowledge you don't need in the textile industry, but you absolutely need it for the game industry. Thank you. How expensive are your courses? Well, starting prices are $400 for 2 months. It can actually get higher than that depending on how much time as a lecturer I spent consulting you personally, because we know that, some people absolutely need the aid of a mentor. There is nothing bad about it. I mean, it's really good. Particularly if you know exactly what you need explained. And some people are very comfortable paying for this extra time. Where and how should I present my portfolio? In our courses, we discuss presenting your portfolio in ArtStation, which is a free to use and a very open platform. When I list all my achievements in my CV, besides, stress, resistance, and what have you, I think I should always mention my ArtStation profile there. Why is this the case? Well, because ArtStation is beautiful. It can be so good that, some people will be stupefied. Also, If you design your shopfront, quote unquote, properly, it will look very good. And it's teeming. I mean, ArtStation is teeming with high quality content. And there are lots of experts from different areas of art and design. So, for example, if you're simply scrolling through their stuff, and the way the platform works, that you will be exposed to others' art, they do motivate you to make your page even better. At first you may be thinking that you've got a great page, and then you check out somebody else's pages simply because the platform shows them to you. And then you realize, okay, I gotta balance it out, I gotta subdue this, I gotta amplify that. So you become a transformed person simply because the platform has nudged you in a certain direction. So we make sure all our students get a profile on ArtStation. Now this triggers my next question. What do you think about competition in digital fashion and about the prospect of the labor market for us? Well, there is no competition. Do you mean what I think about our competitors? I don't really believe in competition between digital fashion schools. In digital fashion as such, there is no competition really. I think everybody who knows at least something about 3D modeling can find a job. Any work we produce now is seen as a little miracle. Now imagine that as a designer and modeler, I used to draw manually, but now I want to be paid more. I can show them my micro skill. It's a teeny tiny little thing in 3D modeling, and this alone will seem like a miracle to most employers. And this is already a bonus. This is something that will be considered special and will make them pay more. When competition gets stronger, when everybody has mastered the skill, I will need to have at least 10 high quality projects. So that, they need to be perfectly balanced in terms of color, in terms of light, and customers will become more picky. But there is no competition at the moment. You can find your niche in the market knowing very little about the software. That's only because the digital modeling market is in its embryo stage. While there is so little competition, obviously there is no standard price. I can charge, say, $10 per an asset because I believe that that's as much as I'm worth, or I can say $200 or even more than that. And if you have good works, this money will be paid to you. Well, maybe not every client will pay, but those who really value quality, high speed, who want a reliably good result, they will probably accept even a tall price, simply because there is no benchmark yet. It's like with tulips, You can demand any price. Develop a beautiful shopfront, position yourself as an expensive expert, somebody who does a very good job, and you will be paid the money that you ask for. Thank you very much, Elena, for answering in such an inspiring manner. Indeed, there are lots of students in the chat, and they are sending their hellos to you, together with the best wishes, I guess. It's a shame I cannot see them. I'll take my word for it. There are two questions that keep popping up all the time. One is about the conference program. Well, next presentation will be delivered by Pushka, to be followed by Ilyas Darakchiv and Konstantin Popov from Kappa City. The second question is about the recording. Yes, Ivan has already shared several links. There will be more, and the recording will be available on our website. Final question. Is Marvel's Designer or Claw 3D available for Macs? Well, officially, their websites say that they've got installation packages for Macs. But you have seen the list of software products that we're teaching. We are not provoking people to buy this software. We're telling them take student versions because you don't really know where you're going to find your job. Downloading a student version for Macs is possible. However, we have heard that somehow these programs don't run well on Macs. So very often, our students are telling us that, they bought MacBooks because they seem more impressive and fancy, but they end up installing Windows on their Macs. So, in a nutshell, Macs are a bad idea. I do hope that the developers of this software will hear your comment and will consider compatibility, because obviously we live in times when we're expecting this sort of convenience and nobody really wants to waste his or her time wondering about compatibility with operating systems. So thank you very much, Elena. I would like to mention here that digital fashion is developing very fast, and it does look like a gold rush when, thousands of prospectors are going for gold, hoping that they will be able to strike great luck, while digital fashion is not a Klondike. It's an ecosystem, and it has its laws for organization, production, operations, promotion, and sales. And just like the other worlds, including the world of real sector fashion, it requires managerial expertise. Indeed, there is little competition in the digital fashion industry, but very soon the wow effect will pass and proper competition will start. So this transition from chaos to order will happen very fast, and therefore knowledge of how businesses work, how you can build your team, how you can properly position yourself in the market will be very much required. So I'm happy to announce that Fashion Factory School is developing its own course on digital fashion, where we are going to focus not on the working tools of a digital designer, but rather on how to build a successful business around digital design. So if you're interested, we're happy to invite you to this course on developing successful projects in digital fashion, and we are proud to announce that the best of the best, the creme de la creme from Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, including our distinguished speakers, are actually going to teach in this course, and they will share their priceless knowledge and competences with you. And we will be happy to continue this partnership in order to bolster the burgeoning market of digital fashion. Additional information will be coming from the Fashion Factory School team. Now, with great pleasure, I would love to introduce the team of Pushka School. That's Irina Krasilnikov, Peter Nazarevich, and Anna Drainberg. The Pushka School team is, shall I say, globally based, because Peter is in Bali, Anna in St. Petersburg, and Irina in Kiev. And they will take the floor today, just the three of them, to tell us that digital fashion unites the whole planet, bringing together experts from all over the world. And they will prove that there are no borders in the virtual world. What we have is the common sphere of networking, united by a single idea. So, Irina is the founder of Krasilnikova brand, as well as the founder of Pushka School. She's a consultant who integrates innovative and sustainable business models. Petr Nazarevich, the co-founder of Pushka School, an entrepreneur. So please welcome. Hello, everybody. So as you can see, I'm really next to Irina. We are indeed very close. So Peter actually flew to Kyiv for this conference in particular. Actually, Peter spent 6 months a year on Bali and another 6 months in Kyiv, although this Kyiv 6 months are coming to an end. Now, we want to break the stereotypes and tell you a joke. I actually saw a very funny joke in stories, so I decided to share it with you. Once rummaging through the old clothes in the wardrobe, you will find a crumpled disposable mask in your old parka, and you'll smile nostalgically, adjusting your exposures here. Isn't that good? You know, coronavirus is just the beginning. It may be followed with something even worse, or maybe not. Okay. Guys, from this joke, let me turn to official statistics. We've had 680 graduates of our 3D design course from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, United States, Israel, Poland, Canada, France, Georgia, and other countries. We've analyzed the situation in the industry and we identify the key areas and all the hard skills that future experts in the fashion industry will require. So today we are presenting our new course called Fashion Creator. Before we do that, however, I want to quickly walk you through the key principles for Pushka. The principles that Peter and I always stick to. Most important point is like this. We're always bringing in the best practical experts to develop our products. That's why we have an international team in order to comply with this great criterion. Actually, the best people are spread all over the world. Good thing is that we know where to look for them. Also, we believe in ecological approach, quote unquote, to fashion as well as business. That's why we insist that our students only use licensed software. We send emails to developers. We ask the developers to provide our students with best terms possible so that they can enter the field without too much trouble. And we are doing everything we can in order to have our students comfortable and to learn comfortably while we all living in the CIS. Must have downloaded pirated software at least once, and like every 1 in 2, maybe 1 in 3 people know how to use torrents. We know why people do that. But the important thing here is that, for Europe and United States, software at $20 or $50 is nothing special. It's tantamount to having several cups of coffee in a posh place. While for our countries, this is money, and some people can actually live a week on money like this. So they may think that it's easier and better to spend an hour or two downloading or cracking a piece of software, even if this exposes us to viruses or trojans or not so reliable software. While, with licensed software, you get updates all the time and the software runs reliably. So we are trying to make sure that our students either get free to use software or heavily subsidized software, in the hope that once they've learned the software, once they're, making money like $10 to $20 per hour, they wouldn't have a problem paying, say, $50 per license in order to maintain this ecological relationship. Now we understand that over time people will change, but it's important to nurture the right principles, the right ideology. And I should also mention that we're not a fly-by-night operation, we pay all taxes, and we believe it's an important principle, and we would really love all the other companies to be like that. Yeah, that's true. Our third principle, it's actually one of the most important ones, if not the most important. It's the principle of our students' happiness. And when I say happiness, I mean more than just satisfaction with the product. It sort of goes without saying that the course gotta be super awesome. If you're not happy with the course, obviously we will refund you. It's a simple system. But student happiness, in our opinion, includes comfort. Students should feel comfortable on the course. They should be always online, should have, connection with their curator, with their peers, and after, they graduate from the course, they should know how they can find jobs. So we actually have a separate chat where we share vacancies or job offers. And students collaborate among themselves. Very often designers find constructors and constructors find production companies and so on and so forth. All this happens in chats, and we consider it very important. It's important for us to develop a proper platform where future experts will learn, but they will also network and make friends and will get support. Because I really believe it's very important to communicate with the right people. Oh yeah, it's super important. We keep measuring NPS, Net Promoter Score, for those in the know. Well, our NPS is roughly at 80%, although it fluctuates from course to course. Now this means that the majority of our students are prepared to recommend the course to their friends, relatives, and others. And this really makes us happy. Here I'd like to hand over to Anna, and she's the author of the Fashion Creator course. She's a digital designer and a fashion tech expert. We actually found each other because in the digital community now, there are many open-minded people. We're monitoring each other and we're supporting each other, and we're happy to recommend great experts. I'm stressing it because it is so different from your classical world of fashion. Anna, the floor is yours. You can hear me, can't you? Yeah, we can see you just fine. Well, thank you very much. I will start presentation of the course, and let's jump straight into action to save your time. Now, I want to tell about the Fashion Creator course from the viewpoint of the international trends of digitalization of fashion. And also we'll discuss, what's happening in terms of visualization and the technical aspects you need to be aware of if you embark on a course like this. I believe you can see my screen. Thank you very much. So let's get going. The most promising content now is multi-dimensional. Such content takes into account the way humans perceive visual information, but also the way that social media algorithms work. So a user falls in love with a particular piece of content, and then algorithms realize this is important, so they increase the relevance, and this is how you can actually increase organic coverage with quality visuals. That's why we are using shots with several perspectives, and the more interesting products or objects are there in the frame, the better. I'm going to use lots of visuals from leading international designers, so you will also see the references here. So this is Amazon Worldwide, a recent one. So initially, these guys produced leather accessories and footwear, but now they are producing clothes as well. And this is one of their latest campaigns. You'll see that they're using scanned people in their campaign, combining it with landscapes, animations, and graphics. So in such visuals, they can be using realistic animations, but it can be very different. Now this is another footwear and accessory brand, and in their latest campaign, they're using animation with a frog like this. So you see that the frog is a collaborator. Lots of detail here, and you obviously are drawn into it, and it may easily become a piece of viral content, so people will be sharing it, thereby increasing coverage and exposure. So this multidimensionality is something we take into account in our course, and please note, it's a very intense and multidisciplinary course. So there is this profession of CG generalist. Well, people like this cover a broad array of areas in 3D graphics, animation. They can work as modelers or visualizers, textures, or lighters. They can combine many of these functions. They can also develop in some other areas, or focus on something that they prefer, something they particularly excel at. So in our course, we develop this idea of CG generalist, jacks of all trades. But at the same time, our course focuses on working with style, clothes, accessories, so it's symbiosis of CG generalists with what's required for the fashion industry. And we've got, experts and practitioners sharing their experience of this kind. One of the first modules of our course involves creation of 3D scenes. Those, multi-perspective scenes I previously mentioned. It's important to take into account here various lighting arrangements, because it could be studio lighting or fantasy lighting, and obviously we're going to learn how to create various materials, how to use realistic textures, and also how to create fantasy materials, something that doesn't exist in real life. We'll also be talking about basic shaders, and we'll also play with renders, because we will be dealing with a lot of different tools, but we shall start with Cinema 4D. So all multi-perspective scenes will be building in this particular editor. There are different rendering options there are different camera settings. So all this we will cover in Module 1. Let me give you this example, showing how light impacts scene. James Turrell, a well-known American lighting artist, says that light is a revelation, meaning that with light alone you can actually convey the idea of your product. You don't need anything else. That is, you can create worlds, you can tell stories with light alone. Well, here obviously we're using the classical studio light, the 3-point lighting arrangement. So if we change the lighting, and we don't play with textures, we're using this all white material. So we've changed the types of lighting, and we are getting this impression of, something enigmatic here. It must be morning time. Here we've changed lighting again, nothing else. And it feels like, it's a hot day and the sneakers must be tired. They probably are thirsty as well. So this is how we convey this mood. So you may feel both the heat and the tiredness. And this is cyberpunk for you. And all this is achieved with lighting alone. We're using the same context, it's just the lighting that changes. So in Module 1, we will be covering all this. Another example about creation of realistic textures. For CG generalists in the fashion industry, for people creating visuals for the fashion industry, it's important how to know to create textures of, knitwear or what have you. Creating the environment is also very important because that's what you need for a proper advertising campaign. In the first module, we'll also cover the first-person trend. This is what we're often seeing in animation or graphics. Tools like camera fly-through, they create the impression of immersion without real immersion. So this is a collab of Farfetch with CGI designers. So you can see they're doing animation of the frame and they are creating this multi-dimensional feeling because of the camera fly-through. And this was the virtual show of Daily Paper. And you can see that they're using camera animation a lot as well. And note that the characters themselves are not animated. Say it's good content, it's looping. Another trend I want to discuss with you is detailed graphics. Well, here we're actually reusing pipeline from the game industry. The Institute of Digital Fashion in their account uploaded the workflow of development of a detailed dress embroidered with various precious stones using ZBrush. Well, indeed, this is how they've been developing clothes in game dev scenarios. Now, if you want to use, say, Claw or Marvelous to work on advertising campaigns or to use clothes in games, or in the movies industry, well, because, we do set our ambitions high, you certainly need to consider the other aspects. For example, you need to maintain high quality experts of clothes from Clo 3D. Also, you need to do realistic folds, reliefs, and trims in ZBrush. Also, we'll be discussing creation of UV maps for texturing so that you can use Substance Painter, which is another program very popular in game dev, to do a proper rendering, something that will look very natural. Now, what I wanted to say about the difference between Claw and Marvelous and the way that the same products will be used in other editors and the way they are interfaced. Initially, when we create clothes in Claw or Marvelous, we have a triangular mesh. And cell size there depends on the settings, which are changeable. I think that the default distance between nodes is 20. And the smooth surface that you get there is due to balancing the normals map. That's why having this small number of polygons, you get a pretty smooth texture. But when you transform it into quads in Claw or Marvelous, and you actually need to do that, because the whole CGI world does not support the triangular mesh. It actually prefers quads. You cannot actually do much with the triangular mesh. If you want to texturize a dress like this, well, you won't have it with a triangular mesh. So we transform triangles into quads. But since Claw works by averaging the normals and other pieces of software do not support it, what I'm showing here is what you will get in ZBrush. So what we get here is obviously this broken geometry, and that's a common mistake that clothes modelers make. they will try to solve this problem by subdividing, which gives them a more fine, more granular, broken topology. But this is something you need to keep in mind if you're working in Clo and you're planning to export your stuff to other software. So even if we're using the same mesh from Clo and putting it in poly modeling editors such as Cinema or Maya, and then we start developing the polygon map, all these meshes, particularly star-shaped meshes, are considered bad style. So wherever you have more than 4 lines intersecting, they will produce errors in the following sculpting or modeling. And if you export clothes into gaming engines, chances are it will be misrepresented. That's why in our course we actually focus a lot on how to migrate from Clo to ZBrush, how to avoid mistakes, and how to produce physically correct clothes. That can be reused even in movies. How to, in other words, produce cinematically correct models. Unlike Clo, Marvelous is more designed, is more attuned to game dev clothes project. So they're now going off on a tangent because Marvelous has mesh and topologies, but even if you do this, in the areas where individual elements connect, there will be artifacts, there will be triangular polygons. So there are nuances, there are these little details to remember here. Now, as regards creation of realistic folds in ZBrush, which we will have in our course, please know that when we are modeling clothes in Clo Marvelous, it will look pretty smooth. By the way, there is this notion of 4 reads in game dev. 4 reads, or levels of detail. For example, the first read corresponds to the basic shape, such as a sphere or a cube or a prism. The second read involves transformation of your basic shape into the general outline of what you want to have. The third read adds folds, and the fourth read adds all the minute details such as wrinkles and crease marks and all the other things that show that it's a living, breathing, loving element. Thus, Direct Export of Clothes from Clo 3D will give you a level of detail between the second and the third read, because we have those large folds, but for example, to create a slightly tumbled or wrinkled feel, or to create those airy folds, or the little detail, or minor asymmetries, the organic ways of showing that you have very cinematic clothes. Now this is what you get with ZBrush sculpting. And like I showed previously, embroidery, for example, or jewelry to look very realistic, to fit very well with a normal map, or other details against the backdrop of those little decorations, or maybe little folds. I'll take for example parkas. When you make parkas and you export them, you can try achieving a beautiful picture, but with ZBrush your parka will look so much better. It will look like hyperreal fashion. This is why we included all these software suites in our course, and here we're actually learning from the pipeline of game dev. And we guess it really helps if you want your digital clothes assets to have a long digital life. Okay, indeed, yeah, I think we can do that. You know what? I've only delivered half of my presentation. So, Ludmila, what shall we do? Well, let's take another 10 minutes, okay? I think that the other distinguished speakers will be okay with this, as well as the audience. Okay, I'll try to deliver it fast. So the following trend, which is just blooming now, is around metamorphosis. Actually, many brands are already starting to use it, but they're not very active yet. It actually came from the world of CGI advertising. So in our course, we're actually going to have two big units supporting it. That is, we are going to use various procedural animations so that you guys can develop those impressive clips. Thus, modules 3 and 4, kinetic fashion, organic fashion, will focus on deformers and modifiers in Cinema 4D as well as dynamic controls. Well, because fabric or clothes can be controlled geometrically, but you can also use simulation text, which is more difficult, and obviously we're going to create pseudo-bionic structures, as well as C4 animations. Now what you see here is a controlled animation at the polygon level. So these two modules will be looking at polygon level clothes manipulation, something you cannot actually do in the physical world. As you can see, I can fully control here the position and the rotation of our textile, which obviously is impossible in Clo. And you see, we have here fully configurable procedural dynamics for the fabric, lots of fancy things I'm going to skip right now. But actually you can consult the detailed course program. Obviously there is a big trend now around sophisticated cartoon animation, and Antonio Tedesco earlier today uploaded this one. It actually represents all the trends we have discussed today. You can see the textures and mechanical animation and multi-dimensionality. So this clip, has already blown up the guy's Instagram. Now this is something coming from a Russian bureau. So it's also a multi-dimensional animation, and you can see that they are using exports from Clo to other editors, giving you a pretty powerful scene. So you can do all that. And we shall spend a lot of time discussing it on our course. Module 5 is Body Dynamics, which will include character rigging in Cinema 4D as well as skinning. Well, rigging is animation of bones, and skinning helps you create more realistic movement for the same bones. Also, we're going to use fabric simulation in Cinema 4D and various methods of auxiliary or supportive animation, because in most cases we need to animate not just humans but also various devices and animals, you name it. Then we are going to assemble a very comprehensive, sophisticated animated scene in Cinema 4D. Another trend is around immersiveness. Now, everybody knows that viral content is then propagated across social media and masks. Module 6 covers AR fashion. All those who have subscribed to my Telegram channel, I hope you have already installed Unity, and I had, a lesson on that as well. So with Unity, we're going to create AR and mixed reality, and we will be using it, to create masks for fashion content. So please use the QR code to sign up for the course. Oof, I tried to manage it in time. Wow, Anna. The chat is nearly paralyzed. People have been listening very hard to every word of yours. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for giving me extra time. Let me ask you the key questions, okay? When does your course start? Well, we're planning our start for end of April. We are preparing it all now, so please sign up to our Instagram. There will be updates there. And obviously, in my Telegram channel, I will also make announcements. And what's the price? Actually, we've got several different rates, depending on how much you want to learn. Also, we're offering discounts to our former graduates, and naturally we're offering a discount to all the attendees of the conference today. So without wasting time, just follow those links And our managers will give you tailor-made offers, and you can also study the details of the program using the same link. Let me stress here that we try to make this course as affordable as possible because, we always stand for student happiness and very affordable knowledge. Thank you very much, Anna. Thanks for the opportunity to offer discounts to all the attendees of this conference. I do hope that many people will make use of it. Fashion Factory School tries to collaborate as much as possible with the digital fashion market. Let's move on. I'd like to stress that there is a totally separate branch of digital fashion involving creation of digital footwear. And we actually have a Russian-born star in this field, the creator of virtual digital sneakers that have been referenced in, I guess, most of the presentations of our speakers today. I'm referring to ISDKV, the brand of Ilyas Darakchiyev. Virtual footwear, a special branch in digital fashion, a standalone product, or an accessory for your image. It's a virtual footwear brand sold on Replicant Fashion, Dress X, and XR Couture. Ilyas's digital design combines brutality with dynamic lines. What's important is that Ilyas stands for smart consumption and new types of creativity. Under his belt, Ilyas has successful collaborations with WannaKicks and Aglat apps. I do hope I'm calling him right. If I'm not, please correct me. He has participated in Crypto Fashion Week, and together with Skama, Eva Sviridov's virtual brand, participated in Mercedes Fashion Week Russia. So Ilyas, you're more than welcome. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you see my screen? Superb. My presentation is relatively short, and I hope you will find it interesting. I'm going to tell you about virtual footwear, what makes it different from clothes, its pros and cons, how you would want to use it. Very briefly about myself. For over 5 years, I've been involved in design of usual footwear, and about 18 months ago, I rushed into this field of virtual footwear. Now, virtual footwear is like virtual clothes in a sense. It's a 3D model that you can put on your avatar, you can wear in your photos, but there are some nuances. Let's start with the cons. As you can see from this photo, footwear itself takes up very little space. That's why if you're trying to sell it as virtual goods, demand may be relatively low, because footwear doesn't attract much attention, it doesn't quite grab the eye the way clothes tends to do. There are two things you can try doing about it. One is that you can try to make it as large, as vivid as possible. You may remember Buffalo sneakers with flames on Dress X, and because of the flames, they were very easy to spot. Now, the other way you can go is to offer digital footwear as an accessory to clothes. So if you're buying, for example, pants or a jacket, you may also want to grab digital footwear. For this kind of scenario, you would want digital footwear which is not too snazzy, but is quite versatile. That is a good fit for whatever clothes you may be wearing digitally. Another important distinction is that in order to create digital footwear, there is no single dedicated software I would like to recommend to everyone. A single suite where you would be able to do everything from A to Z. For clothes design, everybody knows Marvelous or Clo. In footwear design, it's not like there is nothing available. However, the software that does exist is not available either as a pirated download or as a commercial purchase, because these software suites are designed for commercial enterprises. That's why most footwear designers will be using several pieces of software at the same time. Like me, I'm using Rhino and Blender. One is very good for making very clean surfaces, while the other one I'm using for rendering primarily. Which means that designing footwear digitally is more difficult. The thing is that after you've gone through certain stages, after you've exported your model from one software to another, you cannot really change anything. You will need to start from scratch. That's why this process of creating digital footwear is more complicated and longer than a similar process for creating clothes. This means that you need to actually create your drawings from the very beginning, decide on the main design issues, and only after that you start creating digitally. Otherwise, you'll be in for a lot of pain. I will also recommend thinking ahead about how you're going to create it all in 3D, because changing it at a later stage can be very difficult. Now let's look at the pluses. Well, I'm not sure it's a plus, but it's something that virtual footwear has in common with virtual clothes. Actually, putting it on your photos is not difficult. It's actually easier than with clothes, because with clothes you actually need to take into account the turns around the ankles or the knees, and the only difficulty with digital footwear is related to the soles. I'm often asked if I need to send, my photo without the footwear or with footwear. And my usual answer is actually not to send photos without shoes. Because when you put your shoes on, obviously your foot is resting on the sole. So if we add virtual footwear with a pretty thick sole, it may give the impression that you're sort of going into the ground with your shoes. So ideally, as a designer, I will need a photo of yourself wearing some footwear which is comparable in size of the sole to the digital asset you want to have. Well, the only exception is when you don't have your feet resting on the ground. Well, for example, if you're dangling them in the air, then it doesn't matter. Another benefit is that it's so much easier to put on digital footwear on video. Until recently, you couldn't even fit clothes on video, but I guess by now everybody knows you can do that in numerous applications. Actually, we have been able to do it with footwear for much longer. Moreover, you can do it yourself. When I just started it all about a year ago, I would shoot my own videos. I would identify the points that tell us about the movement of the foot, and then I would attach them to the 3D model to make sure that the digital model moves in line with the foot. And this process would take me quite some time. I think I would spend something like a week doing this manual processing. Fortunately, there are lots of AR applications around where all this is done automatically. And WannaKicks and Snapchat are, in my opinion, the best known applications of the kind. You can actually try on footwear in both. WannaKicks is mostly designed for sales of real shoes, and therefore they prefer their models to be as realistic as possible in order to have your footwear featured in WannaKicks. You need to get in touch with the developers and persuade them that such a collaboration makes sense for them. in order to add your virtual footwear to Snapchat, you don't need anything but the software called Snapchat Lens Studio. It's available off their website, free of charge. It contains video lessons and a template. And all you need to do is to replace their 3D model with yours. And this is it. You can already try your digital footwear right away. This is super cool. Actually, it has lots of other features such as animations. You can change colors. I actually believe that its capabilities are pretty unlimited, but mind you, your file should be relatively lightweight. Another benefit of digital footwear is that it is not a widespread phenomenon, although the numbers are growing and a growing number of brands are getting interested in the field. When I was preparing my presentation, I only had like 3 examples here. However, several days ago, Gucci produced virtual footwear for WannaKicks, and obviously I had to add them to my presentation. But this is pretty much it. You can either buy Artifact Studio stuff, and they're mostly selling on auctions, or you can get the collaboration of Buffalo and DressX collaboration, or my footwear. Well, maybe there could be a couple other examples. I think I saw this stuff at DressX. But other than that, I've very rarely seen digital footwear that was available for purchase and would not be a copy of an existing branded product. So I believe it is a promising field. I mean, you can easily jump on this bandwagon and carve out a niche next to Buffalo and Gucci. And by way of insider information, I should tell you that at least 2 large, well-known international brands are taking an interest in developing their own models of virtual footwear. I cannot drop any names because actually I hope I will be working with them. But I know for a given fact that at least 2 well-known brands are going to make forays into this field. And if they are successful, others would follow, I guess. And I guess that a great advantage of virtual footwear is that it's such a narrow specialization that you will be an attractive collaborator for all those who are doing, say, virtual clothes. Because the processes for creating virtual clothes and virtual footwear are different, and therefore people specializing in clothes usually do not have the skills in footwear, and the inverse would also be true. So these are very complementary skills. So I guess you can collaborate, you can complement each other. And this is what we did with Ask Seema brand. And we presented our joint collection at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. Now, had there been no collaboration like this, I would have expended so much more energy and effort to present a full-blown collection at MBFW. But since what I do is something they don't do, and the other way around, each of us did what we liked, and we produced a proper collection. And obviously there is also this still empty niche of virtual headwear. Had I not been doing footwear, I would be doing headwear. I've listed a number of applications such as WannaKicks and Snapchat, but note the absence of Instagram there, because on Instagram you cannot try footwear, but you can try hats. I guess we need to think about it, right? Maybe you would like to launch an awesome brand of virtual hats and then go into collaborations with everybody. I've mentioned it was going to be a short presentation, so if you have any questions left, please shoot. And by the way, I'm mentioning here my Instagram handle, and if you have any questions, please get in touch. On the right, I'm showing the address of my website where you can check out my virtual footwear. maybe you can discover something of interest for yourselves there. The slide says, thanks for your attention. Thank you very much, Ilyas. Oh, there are lots of compliments. People are writing here in the chat that you're awesome and your designs are super cool. Can you please answer several questions now? Question 1. What is the software that you're using? I actually mentioned them. I'm using Rhino. I'm not sure. Rhino must be the right pronunciation, and Blender. Let me stress that I'm using Rhino to create shapes because it's easy to do it at high quality level in Rhino. And you can actually import stuff into Rhino from Illustrator. And there won't be any discrepancies. And I'm using a Blender to apply realistic textures and to play with lighting. Well, a question I would certainly subscribe to as well sounds like this. You are focused on creating footwear. What are the prospects for a designer who wants to create footwear that is more classical? Well, for example, high heels. Well, I think prospects are pretty similar, right? Well, I mean, sneakers and high heels obviously are not the same, but I guess you will be using the same software. Did I get it right? That there have been no cases like this? I did not have the time to put it in my presentation. I browsed the DressX website just a couple of hours ago, and I spotted some high boots there, or something unusual, with heels obviously, for women. But all in all, there are very few products like this out there, so off the top of my mind I cannot give you a name. I guess the niche is still empty, so anyone courageous enough can occupy it. Thank you very much, Elias. Another question obviously coming from a textile designer or an owner of a textile business. Is it possible to produce virtual knit hats, and what kind of application would be best for it? Yeah, I believe it's possible. But I think you should better ask Yeva Sviridova. I'm not sure you have her contacts. I believe she certainly should know the answer to this one. Well, Yeva Sviridova was a speaker on our first digital fashion conference, and in our website we actually have the recordings from this conference, including Yeva's presentation, so you can simply browse our website. And watch her presentation as well as presentations of other speakers. So if you're interested in knitwear fashion and capabilities of creating digital designs in this industry, you're all more than welcome to Yeva's presentation. Actually, in her presentation, you should be able to find her contact details as well. Thank you very much, Elias. I'm just checking the chat. You know, people in the chat are already discussing how they can compete with you. Can you imagine that? Now that's cool. No, I'm just finding it funny, but I actually believe it is better to collaborate rather than compete. Oh, I absolutely agree with you. I do believe that we are living in the times of collaboration and mutual help and mutual aid in development rather than in times of competition. Thank you very much, Elias. This has been a very interesting presentation. So let's keep working together. I hope to see you again soon. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Okay, guys. We have discussed at length how you can study digital design, how you can actually acquire and master the working tools for the digital fashion industry, and how to make the best use of them. It is on this particular subject of making the best use of them and of applying them in personal projects or collaborations with other brands, and also on the matter of how digital fashion can help international and small, relatively unknown brands. On all these matters, we shall have Konstantin Popov speaking. He is the founder and the CEO of Capacity. He is an expert in 3D technologies, as well as SaaS solutions and mobile apps. He is one of the best innovators at Intel Software. Capacity helps international brands sell digital clothes, which can be a great case study for the young digital project. Capacity works for Samsonite, Lacoste, Yves Saint Laurent, Bash, too, and other companies, helping them visualize in 3D their products. Hello, Konstantin. Yes, thank you very much, Ludmila. Thanks for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Very briefly, I'm going to tell about our journey. I hope you can see it. So the company was founded in 2013 in the United States. Later on, we opened a rep office in Russia. By now, we have raised a total of $6.4 million, which we spent on developing the platform, developing the software. We've been working for international players such as Intel, Qualcomm, and many others. Currently, there are 40 million views of product-related content happening on our platform per month. And what we offer to brands is the capability to create immersive content. Well, because it is, in fact, the content of the future that helps sell things, particularly in times of a pandemic. And the standard 2D photos are not attractive anymore. So you see, there are leading fashion brands among our clients. But interestingly, Philips, which is a very well-known, actually number 3 auction house globally, recently became our client as well. So obviously they are transforming their real lots into their 3D models using our platform. Whatever you are doing, be it digital garments or whatever, all this has an impact on customer experience. And according to the research done by Gartner, customer experience is exactly what needs to be improved online. There are several trends to be aware of, and one should develop her online sales strategy taking these trends into account. Actually, this is why leading companies are now implementing visualization technologies. One of the leading trends here is that the new generation is going after tech platforms. What they care about is not just good delivery, but also the best ways of showcasing products. So if you showcase your products in a modern manner, rather than simply showing a bunch of photos, the Z generation will really care about it. Z generation is actually much more demanding in terms of content quality. Now, you may remember that the big guys didn't really believe in e-com back in, say, 2014, and now all of them are developing their own portals, their platforms. They are improving their customer interactions, and naturally, immersive technologies have got an important role to play in this respect. Let me discuss with you several executions of these immersive technologies along the lines of what our clients are looking for and what we're helping them with. Well, first, we can transform product cards. Take the French brand called Bash. So they are shooting their real content at a very high quality level. So their website visitors can study in detail all the materials, all the craftsmanship going into this product. And this obviously impacts the desire to purchase. Compare a regular photo to this immersive experience, which is very close to what you would experience in a store. And immersive technology is delivering exactly that. It recreates your feelings in a real store. Zoom is actually the flagship innovator in this line of business in Russia. We've been working with them for a long time. They have already produced such digital assets for roughly 100,000 pieces of real fashion. And it also works very well for, say, jewelry. Well, auction houses used to work offline only. Now that they're going online, visualization technologies will be playing a very important role. If you check out fashion magazines, and we have been working with Elle and InStyle, you will discover that visualization technologies help them develop very interesting landing pages, which can help them expose their readership to the culture of a brand. And here you can create compositions for people to interact with. The advantage of such formats is that it's up to the art director to decide how to present a particular product. We simply provide them with tools, and then, they're free to play with them. So they let their creativity roam freely. I understand that at least some of the attendees today are clothes designers or other designers, potentially thinking about representation of their products online. Our recommendation is to go for immersive technologies. Look here, for example, if you have a clothes collection, it's so much better to present it like this. Well, alternatively, you can do augmented reality. The same content, let me show you the demo. It comes from InStyle, and we shot it for them for their December issue, and you see that their content is coming into life in augmented reality. And you need QR codes for that. Obviously, you can build it into the website as well. Note that here we're adding product visualizations into the environment. Well, back then they had a Prada promotion. So we were shooting a fitting room for watches. Actually, they're using our platform to create, try-on facilities real fast. It's such a good thing, really, because it helps them reduce the number of returns. Because fashion is a business, right? The fewer returns you have, the more conscious is a customer's choice, well, the better your business will operate. Now, if you are wondering about the numbers behind it, let me show you a couple of cases to illustrate it all. When you have a website, your main metric, I'm sorry, I gotta do something about the sound here. So your main metric is the time spent on a page. This is a very valid metric for internet businesses, but in fact your SEO rating will also grow if people spend more time on your page, and if you add immersive content for people to interact with, then this indicator will grow on average by 15 to 30 seconds, which is actually a lot. According to Google's study conducted in 2019, average time spent on a product cart is 35 seconds. So by adding immersive content, you effectively double the time spent on the product card. This way, people will better remember your collections, and chances are, they will add a particular product to their cart or maybe to their wish list. So conversion rates also go up. Now, on average, conversion to purchase increases by at least 8% when you use immersive technologies. Naturally, these immersive demonstrations are more preferable than videos because you cannot really stop a video, you cannot zoom in or zoom out, you cannot study specific materials. While in the immersive format, you have full control over a particular digital asset as you would in a physical brick-and-mortar store. Now you will actually see, and this is quoting our clients directly, this campaign helped them increase their sales of bags by roughly 40%. Now Shoes says that for them, time spent on product cards because of such integrations grew by 18%. Clary Viro says that their users are spending on average 19 seconds more, and they're mostly selling bags. For bags, the increase is even higher, 26 seconds. We're also working with Samsonite. In fact, Samsonite has been a client of ours for several years. And they're also saying that their client activity on their web pages has gone up. An unusual case we had recently has got nothing to do with fashion. It's a Kirovsky blunt, but they're actually using the same technology to demonstrate their cars. Maxi Pro is another great case, showing that immersive technologies can easily be applied now pretty much in any market. Previously, we would only serve luxury brands. Then we had premium brands coming to us. And now we have a lot of mainstream companies getting interested in it, including companies selling things that have got nothing to do with fashion. And they're also getting very good results. We're also planning now several pilot launches with foodstuff manufacturers. So I do believe that immersive technologies should be considered by most businesses today, if you are present on the internet, that is. In order for a company to measure the effects of immersive technologies, we have developed our own analytical engine. Well, this engine will actually tell you what people are looking at in particular. So, for example, if you've developed a design for a new product, that could be very important information. So this matrix will show how a particular group interacts with your particular product on a number of important counts. We've got several solutions for content creators. And mind you, we spent about 7 years developing the whole thing. So we realized there was an unmet need in the market, that is, creation of large volumes of content. Most of the clients we have, most of the paying clients we have, are enterprises. And they can easily add some like 15,000 new SKUs per month. So they cannot really create their content the traditional way, with say 3D modeling. Take for example 3D modeling of sneakers. Well, first you need to shoot them, then you need to read their dimensions, and then a professional will spend roughly 2 days creating a model. That's way too long. If you need, for example, to produce 300 models like this per day, Well, this means they actually need to have a whole company of artists doing it for you. And I guess many of them would be happy to do that, but that may be a bit pricey. In the US market, for example, a single sneakers model, 3D model, can easily cost you $300 to $500. And that may already reflect some discounts. It's not uncommon to see professionals charging $700 per single asset. And what we're seeing now in the market for 3D content manufacturing is small pilots, maybe 20, maybe 30 different SKUs. We actually don't think that the situation is going to change dramatically because people will not learn to do it much faster. After all, it's an art. We spent about 2 years developing a 3D scanning technology. So we have a product, we go around it with a scanner. That was actually our collaboration with Intel, which gives us a 3D model that we can work on. And actually, we didn't like what we had. We pivoted it. It was our first pivot. Well, because there is a particular physics of light, and everything that's thin, light, or black does not really yield well to automated content creation. It turned out to be a dead end. So we spent some more time researching this field, and eventually we patented our solution called 3D View in Europe and United States. It effectively gives you a combination of data. You have a photo, and then we add additional information for it all to work in augmented reality. Naturally, there are limitations, but it does enable you to create content en masse. Take Zoom, for example. They shoot hundreds of SKUs per day, which represents their operational needs. And we have a client, they tested the platform and they wanted to digitalize 600 SKUs per day. And this is not the limitation of the platform, it's just an illustration of what large corporates may need. And when you have a solution that can meet these needs, indeed, massive integration becomes possible. I guess the stumbling block for the digital business today is that it doesn't scale well in terms of content creation. So we developed this solution, and I think you will find it most interesting to look at the product which enables creation of holograms for clothes. So you will need a regular photo studio and regular models, and you can see it is our collaboration with IFA, which is a Paris-based fashion school. So their graduate designers need to present their graduation collections. So during the pandemic, they wanted to run their fashion show, given that nobody could travel. So as you can see, we have a digitalized person here on the left, and on the right, you can see the content which can be placed as a hologram in augmented reality. I'm not showing it here, but you can actually walk around it because it's a 3D model. Compare 2 days, and it may actually be longer than that if you're working with people, not with sneakers, and actually will cost you more, not $500 but rather $1,000. With this approach, you can shoot roughly 12 models per day, including post-processing. It should cost you something like $50, which means that we're getting photorealistic here at a fraction of the cost. Another problem that our clients told us about is that 3D models, our clients tell us, are all very well, but we want everything to be photorealistic because we've got this super duper material. Or like Yves Saint Laurent tells us, you know what, we've got our art director. We know how everything should be shown. You know, when we're doing object rendering, when we're creating 3D models, they'll look a bit plastic. And I believe we have been able to address this issue for them. And obviously, the more a brand is associated with quality, the more demanding they are with regard to immersive content. We have another product, and it is actually targeting the mass market. It's a mobile app. As we are working with enterprises, we realize that there is this huge market out there, market of SMEs, smaller companies producing their own collections or selling somebody else's collections through classifieds or marketplaces. And naturally, these companies do not have the budget for paying, say, $5,000 per month in subscription fees. So we spent quite some time developing the algorithm and producing this app so that you can actually transform your content into our format simply by walking around, say, a model wearing your piece. This is how you can easily create content that can then be built into the website or can be exported to Instagram as a video. And now we're preparing several launches with leading marketplaces so that you should be able to use such content there in product cards. You can see in this video how 3D shot content can be built into Tildo. And let me show it here on the page. I guess any designer should be able to easily digitalize her collection at a very high quality level, although it's all being shot with your regular smartphone. Now we've done this launch with Kufra, a marketplace which has MAU of 24 million. And in the following 3 months, we are going to have similar launches with roughly a dozen other marketplaces. If you are a nonprofit, you can actually use our app free of charge. Now, if you are doing it on a marketplace, it's a different business model. I mean, we are not charging you anything for just presenting there. Actually, we'll be happy if you use our app for digital portfolio creation. For example, we had a very successful project with Ivanova Institute. So students would create their digital collections with our software. Isn't it great that students have immersive digital portfolios they will later on be able to share with their clients? This is so much more effective. You know, this way they should be able to present their products in a digital format, in a very shareable format at that. So we believe it can be a mass market tool for creating immersive content, and we hope it will be very useful to many people. So I believe, Ludmila, for example, your students may be interested in it. I guess this is it for me. I've covered all the main bases and I will be happy to take your questions, if any. Oh, thank you very much, Konstantin. I actually forgot to check the chat. I was listening so hard. I'm sorry. Well, people are really grateful to you for providing so many numbers. It's such a well-researched presentation, and I see that people are extremely interested in your application because, you know, every delegate, most of our delegates are designers, and they can certainly relate to this story, and they can see how affordable it should be and how much use it should be in business. So what's the name of the application? Where do we download it? And how do we use it? It's called 3D Shot. Well, the website is called 3dshot.io. If there is a chat, I think we can post the name there. Now, my request for Ivan is to share this link. So you can actually send the link to Ivan and he will upload it for everybody. I'm sorry, I don't think I have the chat option on. Yeah, but we can easily do it after your presentation is over. Oh, there is this comment that your presentation was bombastic. In the business of digital fashion, what we are seeing now is similar to analog fashion. There is a growing amount of content being created, and therefore the main challenge is getting the attention of your audience and selling your product. And naturally, collaboration with you, I believe, should help them solve these problems. A question: is a 3D shot only available for iOS, or is it available for Android as well? Our Android version will be released in May. We're developing it now, we are testing it now, but the only available version is iOS. I'm not sure I understand the question, but you should probably understand it. What is the link I can use to find it in another browser? I'm not sure I understand the question. Okay, these have been the key questions. So you see that people are primarily interested in downloading the app and using it later on in their work. Yes, I'm going to share the link shortly so that it's uploaded onto your website. How do we find you online? Well, if you've got this lively chat, please bear with me. Yeah, our chat is very lively. Actually, we've got several hundred people in the chat. 244 to be precise. So you see, they're listening, they're commenting, they're giving each other advice. Oh, that's great, I'm happy. I've sent the link to you, Ludmila, and I'm always available on Facebook. So if you search for Costa Popov, you should be able to find me. That's the nick. Yeah, thank you. And I've just discovered that I'm subscribed to Natalie Rice. I didn't know that she was with your firm. She's actually our partnership and innovation director. Oh, she's fantastic. Oh, thank you. I'll let her know. Oh, people are devastated that you don't have an Android version, but with your permission, I will promise that you will release an Android version in May. Yeah, absolutely. It's very important to us. We'll certainly do it. The team is working very hard. The problem is that for Android, there are so many different smartphones, and we want to produce a high quality product that nobody will complain about. So please accept our apologies. Yes, we are waiting for it. Some people are writing, I've already downloaded the application. Wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Konstantin. It's such a fantastic and such a useful idea, and I guess it is very important and very useful in business development. We are looking forward to future collaboration with you. So, dear digital fashion industry, thank you very much for all the attention you have given us, for your fiery engagement, for your exchange of opinions, for questions and comments. Fashion Factory School website will hold the recording of this conference so that you can go through all the presentations, you can listen at your leisure, and get in touch with everybody you considered interesting. And we're about to adjourn by saying that we're living in a fantastic time, because now we're living in two worlds simultaneously, the real and the virtual one. And we are walking a very fine line here, because on the one hand we are developing, a lifestyle and a wardrobe for ourselves in both realities, and at the same time we're also creating virtual reality and digital wardrobe, in the cyberspace, in social media, you name it. So we are developing digital design together, and I think we are enabling ourselves to realize our potential, our creativity in the world of digital fashion, which is developing very fast. It started out as an exotic kind of entertainment, but it's very quickly becoming a very promising market. We wish you all sorts of success, and we invite you to shape the digital fashion industry together. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll be happy to get your comments and to see you again. Thank you very much. Good luck.